Pizza, pizza, pizza. If the 90s were about three pizza giants battling for dominance, 2025 is about 100 different players fighting over your dinner plate. Today, there are roughly 74,000 pizzerias in the US, and the industry is worth tens of billions, so pizza's not dying, it's mutating. From artisanal Neapolitan slices to TikTok-famous Detroit squares, the American pizza story has shifted far from red booths and arcade tokens. Yes, even frozen cauliflower crust. And to see how we got here, we need to start with the era when three chains ruled the pie. From pizza wars to pizza truce. In the 1990s, the American pizza landscape was dominated by three colossal names. Pizza Hut, Domino's, and Little Caesars weren't just restaurants. They were cultural landmarks, together accounting for nearly half of all pizza sales in the US. Each commanded its own corner of the market. Pizza Hut leaned into its sit-down, family dining appeal with red-roofed buildings, salad bars, and game rooms. Domino's positioned itself as the undisputed delivery king, promising piping hot pizza in 30 minutes or less. And Little Caesars cornered the value segment, attracting budget-conscious eaters with its 2-for-1 pizza deals and later its hot and ready offering. To choose pizza in the 90s was often to choose one of these three, and their rivalry defined what pizza meant for an entire decade. The competition wasn't subtle. Each chain worked tirelessly to outdo the others in size, speed, and spectacle. It wasn't enough to offer new toppings or slightly better prices. Marketing campaigns were staged like high-stakes battles. Pizza Hut rolled out oversized creations like the Bigfoot, promoted with enough flair to capture national headlines. The marketing era even went airborne once, literally. When a Pizza Hut blimp advertising its giant pie crashed in New York, a publicity stunt gone wrong that nonetheless symbolized the over-the-top energy of the period. Domino's bet on its 30-minute guarantee, making speed almost more important than the pizza itself. Little Caesars didn't attempt theatrics. Instead, it doubled down on volume and price, delivering two pizzas for what customers might spend on one elsewhere. The 90s weren't about subtlety. They were about who could make a bigger splash and a bigger pizza. For a while, this arms race worked. Families took kids to Pizza Hut birthday parties, Domino's drivers careened through suburbs, and bargain hunters left Little Caesars with boxes stacked high. The giants enjoyed national advertising budgets, broad recognition, and an aura of permanence. But like novelty fireworks, the spectacle started to fade as the decade rolled on. Once the excitement of a stuffed crust or an extra-long pie wore off, the food itself hadn't changed much. Pizzas merged with calzones, crust sprouted pockets of cheese or breadsticks, and toppings veered toward stunt food territory. Customers tried them once for the gimmick, but rarely came back out of loyalty. After waves of attention-grabbing experiments, many of these items quietly vanished from menus, leaving behind a sense that the chains were recycling ideas rather than inventing anything of lasting value. The cracks showed most clearly in the early 2000s. Domino's 30-minute guarantee, for instance, had once been its crown jewel. But the policy collided with reality in a series of lawsuits related to unsafe driving, including a high-profile case that carried a multi-million-dollar judgment. Between safety concerns and mounting legal pressure, Domino's backed away from the guarantee. Pizza Hut, once the restaurant-style operator, found itself straddling an awkward line between dine-in hangouts and takeout competition, never quite excelling at either. And Little Caesars remained the low-price option, but with no delivery and limited innovation, it struggled to expand its appeal beyond budget shoppers. The effect wasn't collapse, but exhaustion. The once fiery push to outdo each other slumped into uneventful rotations of coupons, discounts, and temporary new crust. Consumers, meanwhile, were changing. By the mid-2000s, families weren't as dazzled by more cheese or bigger slices. Lunch and dinner habits diversified with fast-casual burritos, coffeehouse culture, and sandwich shops offering quick service with fresher ingredients. Pizza chains still existed everywhere, but they started to feel predictable, even dated. Red-roofed Pizza Huts, once synonymous with weekend dinners, lost their charm in an era of Xboxes, replacing arcade machines and growing interest in healthier or customizable foods. Salad bars that had once looked abundant now looked uninspired. Even nostalgic cues like the checkered tablecloths or pizza-themed lamps seemed frozen in time rather than inviting. As this stagnation deepened, a quiet truce formed among the giants. None collapsed. These were still multi-billion-dollar companies with thousands of outlets nationwide, but their wars wound down into stability rather than conquest. Promotions became safer, less theatrical, and more routine. Without wild stunts to dominate pop culture, the Big Three became background fixtures in American life, dependable but uninspiring. Their ubiquity made them utilities, reliable for a weeknight dinner but rarely the source of excitement. By 2005, pizza wasn't the cultural event it had been in the 90s. It was just dinner, often chosen because it was there, not because it thrilled anyone. Yet this lull created space for others to step in. Independent pizzerias flourished in certain metro areas where food media and foodie culture rewarded craftsmanship and authenticity. Neapolitan-style places brought wood-fired ovens and minimalist toppings, showcasing a different philosophy, smaller, fresher, made-to-order. The big chains weren't structured to compete with that. They ran on bulk frozen dough, centralized supply chains, and nationwide uniformity. The difference between handcrafted pies in boutique settings and frozen then-baked pizzas from national brands underscored how far the culinary gap had grown. For the first time in decades, the Big Three looked less like the face of pizza innovation and more like placeholders. It's telling that Domino's was the first of the giants to confront this perception. Instead of doubling down on stunts, the company undertook a risky admission of weakness in 2009, acknowledging that customers thought its pizzas tasted like cardboard. It was a brutal marketing move, but also honest enough to open the door for reinvention. In the late 2000s, Domino's invested heavily in new recipes, digital ordering, and a distinctive technology brand identity. The Pizza Tracker, launched in 2008, turned the ordering process into real-time entertainment, letting customers watch progress updates on their deliveries. It was a clever way to make buying pizza feel interactive rather than routine. The combination of operational focus, improved recipes, and technology investment helped Domino's regain momentum. By 2018, Domino's had officially overtaken Pizza Hut in U.S. sales, a remarkable reversal that showed consumers would reward improvements in execution and convenience just as much as flavor. The broader lesson was clear. The old gimmicks had reached their limit. Americans no longer wanted bigger pizzas or quirkier crusts. They wanted better pizza, delivered more seamlessly, with control over how and when they ordered. Domino's proved there was still room for evolution, but its pivot away from novelty pies signaled the end of one era and the beginning of another. The foundation had been laid for entirely new models to emerge, built not on pizza stunts, but on customization, freshness, and fast service in a way that felt aligned with modern dining habits. That shift meant that by the 2010s, the definition of a pizza chain was ready to expand. The next wave wasn't going to fight over who could deliver a slightly bigger pepperoni slice. It was about to challenge the very format of how pizza was ordered, built, and eaten. The fast casual invasion. Then the 2010s brought fast casual pizza, assembly line customization, and blazing ovens. This was Pizza Hut nostalgia or Domino's delivery dominance. It was something adapted straight from Chipotle's playbook. Walk the line, pick every detail, and watch your food come together in minutes. Blaze Pizza, MOD Pizza, and Piology championed the model, letting customers build their ideal pie, fire it in ultra-hot ovens, and walk away with a fresh, personal pizza in less time than it used to take just to place a delivery phone call. Fast casual leaders scaled rapidly. MOD and Blaze grew into hundreds of locations and cracked into the hundreds of millions in annual sales. The appeal was straightforward. Instead of waiting half an hour for a delivery driver, a customer could assemble a pizza in full view and have it ready in under 10 minutes. The model placed speed and control at the center, a stark contrast to chains that had trained people to think of pizza as a dinner order requiring patience. And the pricing reinforced the shift. Where legacy players relied on coupons, bundles, and upgrades, Blaze and MOD introduced flat pricing. Customers could load as many toppings as they wanted, confident that the check wouldn't change. No calculation, no last-minute moment of hesitation, just a single all-in cost. For younger diners already accustomed to transparent burrito menus, the simplicity made sense. This model also connected with changing expectations brought on by the broader food industry. By the early 2010s, coffee buyers were personalizing every drink through apps, and fast casual lunch spots had normalized the idea of infinite customization. Pizza, so naturally adaptable to toppings and styles, had been left behind by the Big Three. Blaze and MOD filled that gap, showing that custom didn't have to mean slow or expensive. Instead of frozen dough cooked on conveyor belts miles from the customer's eye, these spots emphasized open kitchens, visible ingredients, and fresh stretched dough, even if much of the supply chain remained standardized behind the scenes. The look alone was enough to suggest quality. For a younger generation, the entire experience redefined what pizza felt like. The decor leaned toward bright, modern, and informal, without the heavy booths or dated lamps of 90s sit-downs. The scale fit differently too. While Domino's or Pizza Hut trained customers toward large pizzas designed for family dinners, fast casual brands leaned into personal-sized pies. A 10 to 12-inch pizza became the perfect lunch or solo dinner option, plugging pizza back into daily eating routines rather than just shared meals. That single adjustment allowed these chains to tap into the office lunch market, a segment where traditional delivery never fit neatly. Rapid expansion followed almost naturally. Blaze's early celebrity investors gave it name recognition beyond its modest first few locations, while MOD built steadily through suburban centers and college towns. The stores required far less space and infrastructure than sit-down restaurants, which made growth easier. They could move fast, serving thousands of customers from compact footprints without complex labor needs. Each new outlet reinforced the perception that pizza could finally be as quick as a sandwich and as customizable as a burrito bowl. Perception mattered just as much as convenience. For decades, national pizza had been treated as heavy, greasy comfort food, reliably filling but not exciting. Fast casual chains shifted that image. Seeing pizzas assembled fresh, not just opened from a box, gave a sense of craft that resonated with Millennials and Gen Z diners, whether or not the ingredients were truly farm fresh. The theater of the open line made it feel like an upgrade over soggy delivery boxing. That combination of freshness and choice worked as a subtle counter to years of discount-driven advertising from the big three. By the middle of the 2010s, the question hanging was simple. Why wait half an hour for a coupon pizza if you could walk into Blaze, pick exactly what you wanted, and eat it in less than 10 minutes? Even Domino's delivery tracker suddenly seemed less compelling when fast was being redefined right in front of the customer's eyes. For pizza chains rooted in either dine-in atmospheres or sprawling delivery fleets, this form of competition was new. It wasn't about who could offer two pizzas for one price. It was about flipping the entire dining frame. By 2020, the movement had proven it wasn't a small fad. Blaze, MOD, and Piology had spread to thousands of storefronts combined. They hadn't overtaken Domino's or Pizza Hut in pure sales, but they had changed the expectations of what pizza chains could look like and how they could operate. Pizza was no longer seen exclusively as a group dinner food. It had become a personal choice, customizable, fast, and woven into the broader culture of fast casual dining. Customers weren't asking if a chain offered coupons. They were asking what control they had over their own order. Fast casual didn't erase the old giants, but it reintroduced pizza as something adaptable to individual lives rather than locked into old models of family dinners or slow carryout. That redefinition shaped how everyone else in the industry had to respond. But fast casual didn't just steal lunch customers, it reshaped what good pizza looked like. And as expectations shifted, another upheaval was already forming, one that wasn't about toppings at all, but about who even got to deliver the box to your door. The delivery app domino effect. If there was one thing Domino's built its reputation on, it was mastery over delivery. Through the 1990s and 2000s, no other pizza brand could match its reach. Domino's delivery drivers covered the suburbs like clockwork. Its 30-minute guarantee became legendary, and the pizza tracker turned the ordering process into a digital event. For years, this model felt unbeatable. But in time, technology reframed the rules. A new wave of platforms replaced brand-specific delivery systems with a marketplace model, one where pizza competed directly with hamburgers, sushi, or tacos on a single screen. Domino's hadn't lost its ability to deliver, but the ground beneath it had shifted. The companies that made this possible, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, weren't built with pizza in mind. Their goal was broader: put any restaurant into a customer's pocket with a few taps. At first, pizza operators dismissed them. After all, delivery was pizza's territory and the product traveled well. But the shift was never about handling pizza, it was about placing every option in the same storefront. the app itself. Suddenly, family dinners were choosing not from Domino's menu, but from a scrolling list of cuisines. The advantage of running a dedicated fleet of drivers, long Domino's crown jewel, looked less distinctive next to a marketplace that offered everything at once. This wasn't the collapse of Domino's delivery engine. It remained one of the strongest logistics operations in food service. What changed was how customers accessed it. If thousands of restaurants share the same apps, the digital storefront becomes the true gatekeeper, whether or not a chain has drivers in every neighborhood. Pizza Today's 2025 industry survey backs that up. Online ordering and delivery platforms now account for a significant and growing share of operator revenue, with many businesses reporting more than 11% of sales flowing through third-party channels. For the younger restaurant crowd, delivery apps became the default, and pizza chains had to follow the traffic. The irony ran deep. For years, Domino's tracker was praised as cutting-edge, showing each step of the order's journey. But when Uber Eats and DoorDash offered similar updates for a range of cuisines, the uniqueness evaporated. To a new generation, Domino's wasn't the face of convenience anymore. It was just one option inside a broader food carousel. Logging into an app that could display sushi, ramen, and pizza in the same cart made Domino's proprietary tracker feel less like a marvel and more like a single-brand relic. Economics made this shift even more complicated. Domino's old system kept the entire chain of value in-house. Their own ingredients, employees, and cars meant most of the money stayed with the company. Third-party apps reversed that arrangement. Platforms typically charged commissions of 15–30% per order. That fee bought exposure to millions of app users, but it also sliced into already slim restaurant margin. Chains wrestled with the decision: protect their own ordering systems or join the apps and forfeit a cut of sales. In practice, refusal became nearly impossible. Without a presence on delivery apps, many brands risked disappearing from the way consumers actually searched for food. Some companies resisted. Domino's offered discounts for customers who ordered directly through its app and promoted loyalty rewards that only applied to in-house purchases. Pizza Hut rolled out platform-exclusive deals, but consumer behavior trended in one direction. People wanted one place where dinner decisions could be made quickly, and that central hub was the delivery app. Once inside the app environment, pizza chains looked like one more tile in a broad menu rather than the default choice for delivery. This trade-off extended beyond economics. For decades, pizza delivery carried strong symbolic branding: drivers in logoed uniforms, pizza boxes that displayed the chain's colors, branded cars parked outside homes. That presence reinforced the company's visibility at the neighborhood level. By contrast, app drivers were independent contractors cycling between multiple restaurants. Instead of a Domino's car pulling up, customers often saw a gray sedan dropping off several bags of mixed orders. Studies have found that this shift came with a measurable downside. Third-party deliveries often score lower on food temperature and satisfaction compared with orders handled by restaurant-employed drivers. The effect was subtle but important. Pizza lost part of its ritual, the warm, branded connection between restaurant and home, replaced by anonymous transactions delivered at scale. Still, app traffic was too big to ignore. Once pizza chains committed to them, order volume surged. Customers could add a pizza to their cart as easily as they added fries or a smoothie. For many small operators, it meant exposure they never could have afforded on their own. But the economic gains were uneven. Selling far more pizzas did not necessarily mean keeping more of the revenue. Many operators described the arrangement as paying rent to a tech company for access to customers they once reached directly. As long as apps ate into margins, growth came with a built-in cost. The pandemic years highlighted this dependency more than anything else. In 2020 and 2021, when millions were confined to their homes, delivery apps became lifelines. Orders spiked to unprecedented levels. Yet with that surge came heavy costs, as every percentage point in commissions translated to millions in revenue transferred upward to the platforms. Pizza volumes exploded, but chains themselves often pocketed less per slice. Apps had shifted roles from useful partners to critical gatekeepers, controlling customer relationships. By 2025, the numbers were decisive. Delivery apps accounted for more than half of chain pizza orders nationwide. Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's remained household names, but they no longer own their delivery systems outright. The market had been reshaped into a shared digital space where brand presence mattered less than visibility inside an app. Convenience for customers expanded dramatically. Dinner could be planned and delivered in minutes across cuisines with just a swipe. The trade-off was that pizza chains lost their grip on both profits and presentation. That doesn't mean the food itself mattered less. If anything, the rise of apps flattened pizza into a category alongside dozens of others, forcing it to compete on price, labeling, and reviews like any other meal. The strength of the old delivery empires wasn't enough to shield them from the new rules of aggregation. Chains had to figure out how to stand out in lists of options rather than on a main street corner. And for many, this raised the question of whether pizza could remain as distinctive as it once was in American dining. But while delivery platforms changed how pizza reached the table, another battleground was quietly intensifying. Away from the apps and drivers, a different form of pizza was gaining new attention, not through storefronts or screens, but through supermarket aisles stacked with boxes customers could take home and bake themselves. Frozen pizza levels up. For decades, frozen pizza was treated like an afterthought, a quick fix that lived at the bottom of a crowded freezer. Brands like Totino's, Tombstone, and Red Baron were ubiquitous, stacked high in supermarkets, offering the same guarantee every time: cheap, fast, and good enough. These boxes were sold as survival food for broke students, midnight snacks, or families stretching a paycheck. Nobody was putting them in the same conversation with restaurant pies. They were utility more than cuisine. But the perception of frozen pizza would not stay frozen forever. Over the past few decades, subtle innovations and shifting habits have transformed it into something far more competitive. In fact, one of the first breakthroughs came long before today's gourmet freezer aisle. In 1995, DiGiorno introduced its famous rising crust pizza, complete with a bold marketing campaign declaring, "It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno." That line became a cultural reference point, and more importantly, it was the first time frozen pizza positioned itself as a direct rival to hot delivery. The crust puffed up in the oven, giving the illusion of freshness rather than the flat, cardboard-like bases people expected. It signaled that frozen could aspire higher than snack food. Alongside other innovations like bagel bites or hot pockets, which shot pizza flavors into microwaves across America, it reshaped expectations. Could freezing technology really move pizza past backup dinner status? By the 2010s, the answer was starting to look more like yes. A new wave of branding appeared in the freezer aisle. California Pizza Kitchen brought its sit-down restaurant signature toppings, barbecue chicken, Thai flavors into the grocery store. Other companies leaned on claims like stone-fired or wood-fired, words once reserved for upmarket restaurants. Shoppers began to view certain frozen boxes the way they viewed frozen artisan bread or craft beer six-packs. Not trash food, but something closer to quality, if not equal. A rhetorical question began to take shape in households across America. Could a frozen pie replace a delivery order? And in many cases, convenience, cost, and growing quality made the answer yes. That transformation accelerated during the COVID lockdowns. When restaurants closed and families grew wary of delivery surcharges, frozen pizza quietly surged in status. Freezers weren't stocked with just one or two backup pies anymore. They were packed with unfamiliar labels, cauliflower crust offerings, and even plant-based toppings. Households experimented, discovering brands they'd never bought before. Suddenly, frozen pizza wasn't embarrassing. It was economical, comforting, and reliable during months when everything else, from toilet paper to fresh veggies, was running short. For millions of households, those months reset the hierarchy. Frozen pizza graduated from desperation meal to a primary option. Even before the pandemic, new diets had begun reshaping the category. Gluten-free alternatives that started as niche experiments gained permanent shelf space. Cauliflower crusts moved from boutique health stores to Walmart aisles. Keto-friendly doughs using almond or protein-based flour pushed into the mainstream. And alongside them, plant-based toppings grew just as fast. Beyond Meat and Impossible options slipped onto frozen pies as easily as they had onto burgers. This meant frozen pizza wasn't just meeting cravings, it was accommodating a whole spectrum of dietary trends. Where traditional chains hesitated to tinker with gluten-free equipment or vegan cheese risks, frozen brands had the space to test and sell these experiments at scale. Packaging amplified this modernization. The cheapest pizzas still came in plain boxes with discount fonts, but premium competitors leaned heavily on slick branding, craft fonts, sharper photography, claims of regional authenticity. The freezer aisle became a showroom of style as much as substance. Buying a pizza that promised a hand-stretched sourdough crust suddenly didn't feel like buying basic groceries. It felt aspirational, like bringing home a restaurant trend in miniature. Consumers posted grocery hauls online, showing off frozen pizzas alongside kombucha or specialty chips. Image mattered, and this was a sea change for a category once defined by whatever fits in the college mini fridge. The product itself also improved. Advances in flash freezing techniques solved the Achilles heel of crumbly or soggy crusts. Cheese blends froze and reheated more smoothly, bubbling instead of congealing. New oven instructions emphasized crispness, and alternative heating methods, air fryers, toaster ovens, gave buyers ways to elevate the results further. A frozen pie came much closer to resembling a takeout one, not identical, but close enough for the average family dinner. Quality narrowed the gap, economics widened it. Why pay $30 for a delivery order when a $7 or $8 frozen pizza could satisfy a similar craving? That cost-benefit equation hooked consumers long after pandemic panic orders subsided. The evolution wasn't only about health trends or nostalgia. It was also about variety. Regional styles, Detroit-style pans, Sicilian slabs, Roman rectangles, migrated into frozen aisles. Thick crusts with caramelized edges or layered cheese patterns were suddenly available in small towns that once had only pepperoni or sausage. Frozen categories became conduits for culinary tourism. Shoppers in suburban Ohio or rural Texas could casually experience New York thin crust or Midwestern tavern styles without a road trip. This access democratized what used to be geographically exclusive. And size mattered too. Where delivery chains stuck with large pies designed for sharing, frozen brands offered flexibility. Smaller, personal-sized pizzas made midweek lunches easier. 2 packs let couples enjoy different flavor combinations without a price premium. Families could mix and match. 1 cauliflower-based veggie pizza for the health-minded teen, 1 indulgent meat lovers for the parent, all baked on the same night. Frozen pizza became modular, a customizable dinner kit, not just a one-size-fits-all pie.